You are 11 years old and your uncle takes you to a club race weekend because he has nothing else to do with you that Saturday. You expect noise. You get noise. What you don't expect is the smell. Race gas and warm rubber and the sharp chemical bite of brake cleaner, all mixed together in the paddock air. You don't have a word for it. You will spend the next 30 years chasing it. The bikes on track don't look fast from where you're standing. That's the thing nobody tells you. From the outside of turn 9, they look almost slow, leaned so far over the bars or pointing at the pavement, and then one of them stands the bike up and gets on the gas, and the sound changes. A hard, ripping shriek that climbs and climbs and doesn't stop climbing, and it's gone before your head finishes turning. Your uncle says, "That's a 250. That's the slow class." You don't believe him. You don't believe him for years. On the way out, you walk past a guy in a paddock spot packing a van. Leathers peeled down to his waist, sunburn line across his neck, drinking a warm Gatorade and staring at nothing. He looks completely destroyed. He looks happier than anyone you've ever seen. Level 2. You're 19, and you have a used Ninja 636 and a mountain road 40 minutes from your house, and you think you're pretty good. You are not pretty good. You're fast in a straight line and terrified everywhere else. And you've built an entire riding style out of hiding that from yourself. You brake in the corner because you always come in too hot. You look at the guardrail instead of the exit. You survive on reflexes and luck, and you don't know the difference between them yet. There's a guy at the shop where you get tires, Danny, mid-40s, missing half a finger from a dirt bike thing he won't explain. He watches you talk about the canyon for about 90 seconds and then says, "You should go do a track day before you kill yourself." You say the road's fine. He says, "The road doesn't have runoff." Then he goes back to the register. You think about that sentence for 2 months. You keep riding the canyon, you get away with it. That's the dangerous part. You keep getting away with it, and every time you do, you get a little more sure you're good. Then one Tuesday, you come around a familiar corner, and there's gravel across the apex from a driveway you've passed 1,000 times. And you go wide, both wheels off the tarmac. And you save it purely because a rut in the dirt points you back at the road. You ride home at 40 miles an hour. You sit in your driveway with the engine off for a long time. You book the track day that night. Level 3. You're 20 and you're in the novice group at a control line track day, and you have never been so thoroughly humiliated in your life. They give you a control rider, a coach who leads your group around, holds up a hand for you to follow him, points at braking markers with his boot. You spend the first session convinced he's going slow to be nice. He is. He's going about 60%, and you cannot stay with him. The tech inspection alone taught you things. Safety wire the drain plug and the oil filter. Tape the mirrors, tape the lights, remove the mirrors entirely if you can. Someone checked your tire pressures and dropped them. You'd been running street pressure, 36 front, and he took it down to about 30 and said, "Hot pressure's what matters, this'll come up." You had no idea any of that was a thing. The riders' meeting is where it gets real. Passing rules. Novice group is often no passing in the corners, straights only, and you give a wide berth. Corner worker flags. Yellow means incident ahead, no passing. Black flag with your number means come in, they want a word. Red means the session's over, get off line, hands up, come in slow. Out on track your first session, you're doing everything wrong at once. You're gripping the bars so hard your forearms pump up solid by lap 4, and you literally cannot squeeze the brake lever properly. Your neck is destroyed from fighting the wind, because you're sitting bolt upright like you're on a commuter bike. You're looking about 10 feet in front of your fender. At lunch, the control rider finds you and doesn't mention any of that. He says one thing: stop steering with your arms. Next session, hold the tank with your knees and hang on with your legs, and just try to relax your hands. You go out and try it, and it's like someone changed the bike. The thing goes where you look. It stops fighting you. You come in from that session shaking. Not from fear. You get back to the paddock and you're already doing the math on what a set of used race leathers costs. Level 4. You're 22 and you've moved up to intermediate, and this is where you learn that going fast is mostly about slowing down properly. You've done maybe 8 track days. You have a beat-up set of one-piece leathers you bought secondhand, a proper full-face helmet, and a bike that lives in the garage on stands with a race can and no mirrors. It doesn't have a plate anymore. You made that decision in the winter, and you remember making it. Intermediate means passing is allowed everywhere, and the first time somebody comes past you mid-corner, close, controlled, a foot away, gone, you almost sit up. Nobody hits you, nobody's trying to, but your entire sense of the space around you has to rebuild itself. You start learning the actual craft. Trail braking, you don't finish braking before you turn in anymore, you carry the brake into the corner and bleed it off as you add lean angle, so the front is loaded and the bike will turn. Every instinct you built on the road screams that this is how you crash. It's the opposite. It's the only way to get a bike to rotate. You learn reference points, not brake around here somewhere, but that specific patch, that crack, that seam. Brake at the second seam, turn at the curb joint, get your eyes to the exit before the apex. And you crash. Of course you crash. Turn 6, coldish tire, third lap of the first session on a 50-degree morning, you ask for a lot of lean too early, and the front just goes. There's no drama to it. It's over in less than a second. You slide on your shoulder and your hip, you watch the bike tumble away from you throwing plastic, and then you're sitting up in the gravel trap absolutely fine, and the corner worker is waving a yellow and jogging toward you. The damage is a bent lever, a broken clutch cover, a scraped frame slider, and a full set of bodywork you'll be replacing with cheap track plastics. About $800. The leathers did their job. Your shoulder is purple for 2 weeks. Danny, back at the shop, looks at the pictures and says, "Front tuck. Everyone gets one. Then, you're fine. Low side in gravel's the cheapest lesson you'll ever get. You're back out 3 weekends later, and you're slower for 1 session, and then you're not. Level 5. You're 24 and you enter your first club race weekend, and you find out that a track day and a race are 2 different sports. You go through a race school first, a full day, classroom and track, run by the club. They teach you starts. They teach you what happens when the one board comes out and then goes sideways. They teach you flags again, properly. And they teach you that in a race, the guy next to you is not being polite. You get your novice license and a number and a plate, with a specific background color that tells everyone else on track you're new. Which is the point. Everyone can see you coming. Your first grid is the single most terrifying thing you have ever been part of. Your back row, 20-something riders, everyone holding revs, warmer blankets coming off, the smell of hot rubber and clutch. The board goes sideways, and your whole body forgets how to do anything. You bog it. You get swallowed by the entire field into turn 1. You finish 14th out of 18. You don't care even slightly. You did not crash. You passed 2 people, and one of them tried to come back at you on the brakes into the last corner and couldn't get it done. In the paddock afterward, you're on a folding chair with your leathers around your waist, sunburn line across your neck, drinking something warm, staring at nothing. You look completely destroyed. You think about a guy in a van when you were 11. Level 6. You're 28 and you're an expert. That's not a compliment, it's a license class. You did your required novice races, you got your bumps, and now you race with people who have been doing this for 15 years and have absolutely no interest in your feelings. This is where you stop being a guy who goes fast and start being a racer. The difference is craft. You learn that the fastest lap doesn't win races. Track position does. You learn to sit behind someone for 4 laps, studying where they're weak. Guys fast in the fast stuff and slow on entry to turn 3 every single lap. So you don't try him in the fast stuff. You sit on his tail, you get a run out of 2, and you go up the inside of 3 on the brakes. And you make it stick by getting the bike stopped and turned and being ahead at the point where he has to decide whether to hit you. You learn to set up a pass a lap before you make it. You learn to defend without blocking, take the inside line, make him go the long way, don't move under braking. You learn that everyone remembers a dirty move for 10 years. Your equipment is real now. A dedicated race bike, 600 Supersport, because that's where the racing is and where the class is deep. Suspension revalved and sprung for your weight, which is the single biggest performance change you've ever made and cost less than a set of tires. Quick shifter, slipper clutch, steel-braided lines. Race tires that go on warmers an hour before every session and cost a couple $100 a set and last a weekend maybe. You have a van now. You have a routine. Friday night, you're changing sprockets under a work light with the paddock quiet around you and a gearing chart on the ground, and you're happier than you are anywhere else. You finally podium in September, third in middleweight Superbike, and you can't stop looking at the trophy on the passenger seat the whole drive home. Level 7. You're 33, and you find out what this actually costs. Not the money, though the money is real. Tires, fuel, entry fees, licenses, consumables, crash damage, the truck, everything. You've stopped adding it up, because adding it up doesn't change anything. The cost is other things. You've had a proper crash now, a high side out of turn 2 that put you into the air and then into the ground, and the number they say is collarbone and 2 ribs, and the reality is 11 weeks and a plate with 7 screws in it. You have a scar you'll have forever. You have a specific memory of the sky rotating. You've watched a red flag come out for someone else and stand for a long, long time. You've sat in a silent paddock, everyone's hands doing nothing, waiting for a helicopter. You know now that this is part of it, and that everyone in this paddock has made a private arithmetic they don't say out loud. You're also good. That's the other part. You've won races. You've been on the box more times than you can list. You've been asked to do track day control riding for money, and you're the guy in front of a novice group holding up a hand, going about 60%, watching a 20-year-old in the mirror who thinks you're going slow to be nice. At lunch you find him, and you don't mention his death grip or his terrible head position or the fact that he's looking 10 feet in front of his fender. You say one thing: stop steering with your arms. You watch him come in from the next session shaking, and you already know exactly what he's going to spend his winter money on. Level 8. Something changes, and it isn't in your riding. You're 38, and the lap times have plateaued, and you understand that a plateau isn't a failure. You're at the end of what your talent and your budget will give you. There's a kid in expert this year who's 19 and does your best ever lap on tires that are 3 sessions old, and there's no bitterness in watching it, which surprises you. So you build something for nobody. An old air-cooled bike out of a barn, a bike from the year you were born, and you do it entirely wrong on purpose. You rebuild the top end yourself, you make it look like it did in a photograph, you never once put it on a timing sheet. You ride it on a Sunday morning on a road that isn't a canyon. It smells like race gas and warm rubber in the garage when you're working on it, same as a paddock in 1990 whatever, standing next to your uncle, not knowing what any of it meant. You still race, you just stopped needing the result to mean something about you. Final level, the one they know your name at. You're in your 50s. You're a licensed race school instructor and a corner-working volunteer, and the guy who has a spare countershaft sprocket in a coffee can that he will absolutely just give you. Your paddock spot is the same one every year, and people find it without asking where it is. Your leathers have been repaired twice by the same guy in a shop 3 states away, and the repairs are visible, and that's the point. Saturday, you're in your chair between sessions, and a kid comes over. New, novice plate, first weekend, bike still has the safety wire tags on it from tech. He's holding a printed lap chart, and he's embarrassed to be holding it. He says he was 3 seconds off in the last session and asks what he's doing wrong. You don't look at the chart. You say, "Where are you looking?" He starts to answer, and then stops, because he genuinely doesn't know. You tell him to go out next session and not try to go fast at all. Just get his eyes to the exit before the apex. That's it. That's the whole session. He comes back in and he's found half a second without trying, and he's got that look, the one you've seen 100 times and had exactly once. You go out for the last session of the day, not chasing anything. The track is empty ahead of you, and the light is going gold and low, and the bike is doing exactly what you ask it to. Coming out of the last corner, you catch it. One clean lap, everything linked, no wasted movement, the thing that made you sell a street bike 30 years ago. You pull into the paddock and shut it off, and sit there with your helmet still on, and your leathers peeled to your waist, sunburn across your neck, staring at nothing. Across the paddock, an 11-year-old is walking past with his uncle, and he slows down, and he looks at you.